Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing the discussion for the solo variant of Libertalia, The Winds of Galecrest. Now you might be wondering if you've seen this game before on my channel. You might be thinking, well, why are you doing a discussion over it? Well, I didn't do one for the solo variant. I did a run through and a discussion for the multiplayer, but I just didn't ever get around to trying the solo. Now I have, so here is my review for it. And so this is a game that I was actually very surprised even had a solo variant, because it relies so much on reading opponents and trying to figure out what's their best opportunity, what cards are they going to play, what cards have they held on to from round to round, and you know, how am I going to use the cards that I have to get what I need to get the most points. And so whenever you have that kind of player dynamic and then you completely remove that and then add in a bot, pretty much, you would expect it to fail. But I mean, it's Stonemaier Games, and somehow they have yet again made a fantastic solo variant. I don't think there's been a solo variant they've played or they've made that I haven't enjoyed from the ones I've tried. They managed to do this extremely well. Now, there are some small issues that I have, but basically what it does is it turns Libertalia, you play it solo, but it replicates a 3-player game. And this game plays up to 6, so I feel like higher player counts gets a lot more crazy with, you know, the different cards and the different abilities and who's trying to go for what and when. But whenever you strip that away and you're left with basically a 3-player game, it still works very, very well. Basically, if you're turned off from this game because you think it needs a lot of players to be good, I'm here to tell you it doesn't. The solo variant is very, very solid. So how it works is essentially there's obviously the solo deck, and on these is a card that is two-sided. Well, not two-sided, but it's like has a top ability or has a top portion and a bottom portion. And really all it does is it kind of has 2 players and then a third person to mix things up. And that third person is kind of my only issue with the game, at least with the variant. But essentially what you do is on your turn, you do the same thing. You shuffle this deck, the Automa deck. You shuffle that, and then you draw 6, and you put those 6 cards in a row, similar to what someone would do in a multiplayer game. So everyone gets the same 6 cards. And then you, as the player, from those 6, you play the card you want to play. You just put it somewhere on the island. You do the same thing of putting loot tokens out. Oh wow, that's 3 maps. That's funny. I didn't draw that at all whenever I was playing this. Anyway, so you put out 3 loot tokens because it's a 2-player game, and then you use your card. Then you take the top card of the Automa deck, and then you play that out, and then you place it to where the orange is face up. That's the Pilferer, and the Pilferer is the 3rd player. Basically, it's going to basically throw a wrench in things, because if it was just you and the other person, it just wouldn't work. So, for example, if I played the Bandit, which has a value of 6, and then you draw from the top of the deck, it's the Pilferer. Okay, that's 26. And then, after that, you now look at the top card of the deck to determine what card the Automa is going to play from their hand of 6. And it's based off of the loot token. So this is where it actually gets extremely interesting. So you can't quite... you can't predict what the Automa is going to do. I mean, not fully anyway, because of that Pilferer card, because you have to play the top card. If you could just look over at the deck and be like, okay, here are the loot tokens, this is the card it's going to play, there's just no strategy in that. That's why you play the top card, because then you look at the top of the next one. And let's say it was those 3 maps. Well, because it's 3 of a kind of a certain type, which it basically prioritizes good, bad, or good, average, and bad loot tokens, which the good is the chest, hook, and map. And then the average is saber, amulet, and barrel. And then the bad is the relic. So, in that case of 3 maps, it would play its second card from the left. This game gets extremely easy to just run through their turns. So the 6 cards you put in order, in ascending order. So you just, it's playing its second card, which let's say it was, the Explorer and the First Mate. The second card from the left is the First Mate, which is 38. And what makes this extremely fascinating is you can look at what cards they have and you can hedge your bets on which one you want to play. If I was choosing to play the Bandit knowing it's a 6, there were 3 maps in that hand I just drew. 3 maps, so it's like I'm guaranteed a map. Unless there's an ability that allows someone to take something or swap them or anything like that. But you can look at all that. And that's knowledge you would have in a multiplayer game as well. Because you would have the same card. So you can look and be like, can anyone steal from me? Can anyone swap? Can anyone take multiple? No, then I'm guaranteed a map, so I'm going to play a card that's going to give me a different ability. So that's just kind of how you strategize around this. Like I said, because you don't really know what card the Automa is going to play, because you can't look at the top card of the next card, that's where it gets extremely interesting. And so then it plays out like normal. You do the day abilities, and the solo cards for the Automa day cards work extremely well. I will say at first they're gonna feel overpowered. I thought anyway, when I was first testing this out, and it was just like, Automa gains 6 coins, Automa does this, Automa does this. It was kind of like, that's worse. There are some cards in the Automa deck that feel more powerful than the same card that you have. And at first, when I was doing the solo variant, I was thinking, well, that doesn't really seem fair. I don't really like that. But every game I've played, it always worked out. Yeah, there might be some voyages or rounds where they have more points than you, but it all kind of comes out in the wash if you really start strategizing based off the cards in your hand, because you can kind of game the game a little bit. You can clearly see what all the opportunities of cards they have in multiplayer games. In subsequent voyages, you hold on to cards. So you have a hand of 6. In the first voyage, you only do 4 rounds before you go to the next voyage, so you hold on to 2 cards. And that's where it becomes kind of guesswork in a multiplayer game, because you don't know what 2 cards other people have held on to. You can try and mentally do that. Be like, okay, I have these 2 left. What did they not play? But I don't do that, because that's just a lot of work. I just try and do my best with what I got. But you can see everything that they have, even the cards that they've held over, because it's just face up in front of you. So that's kind of where it evens out, because that would be really good knowledge if it was secret from another player. Be like, oh, I forgot you had that in your hand. Oh, no. And they're like, I was holding it until this very moment. But you can see exactly what the Automa has and be like, okay, I know it has that. It hasn't played it yet. It's most likely going to. It may not. There is a small chance it may never play certain cards, just the way the deck runs out. But what I'm trying to say is, like, the cards that are the same as yours but feel more powerful, it all works out. But yeah, so you go through the day phase using day abilities, and you go through dusk. In that, again, example, it would be 3 maps. So the Automa gets loot tokens just like normal, and there are different loot tiles that you cover over in a specific way. So it's like, oh, okay, got a saber. Well, that has a dusk ability, so it's going to do that. Everything else is at the end of the voyage, so you just put those on a pile. You can affect them just like they can affect you. They put cards in their ship just like you do. You can remove cards from them. You can steal loot tokens and all that. It's not like it's not put in like a storage where it's never affected. You can affect them. And the Pilfer, all the Pilfer does is it follows a loot priority. So this quick player aid just tells you the loot priority list. I looked at this, I think, once, and then it became extremely easy to know what they were going for, especially because you can just be like, it just goes in order from this. It never obviously wants to take a relic. If there's a chest, it'll always take that, then hook, then map, then saber, amulet, barrel, then relic. And the reason why hook is so good on here is because they get 4 coins for every hook that they have. And the Pilferer follows that same priority list, but it just gets rid of it. The Pilferer is literally there to just be a number in the scoring, or in the island ranking, so that it's like, it's not just basically trading relics back and forth. So on to my negatives on the actual solo variant. I like that the Pilferer is in the game, but it can be very frustrating because it's completely random. I mean, it's not, because it runs off the same deck as you, so 40 cards, so you can kind of look at the Pilferer discard pile and be like, okay, I have a 27 in my hand. Can it play anything higher than that, you know? Which most likely 27 is kind of middle of the thing. Oh, it's a little higher, obviously, because it's a 40 card deck instead of 50, but it's like, So you can look at it, but there are multiple times whenever I'm playing a card that I think is relatively high, and then I flip over the top of the Pilferer deck, and it's like, oh, 31. Okay, cool. There's nothing I could have done about that. And then, let's say I play a 27. Do I even have a 27 in here? I do. It's the Watchman. So let's say I play the 27, and then the Pilferer plays just randomly off the top, a 31. And then the Automa, based off their hand, and the top of the new Automa deck, plays like a 28. So it's like you thinking that you have a relatively high number, and then you're actually now at the bottom. So it's like you were kind of playing a card for the number, and you're still at the bottom, so you're getting most likely a relic. At least in my draws. My draws almost always had a relic. And that can just feel kind of shitty, because you can at least look at the Automa's hand and play around with that and be like, there's a chance it'll play a card higher than mine. But you have no way of knowing really what the the Pilferer is going to play. But it's really a minor complaint, because that can sometimes work in your favor. Like, if you play a 27, and then the new card of the Pilferer is a 31, and then that causes the Automa to play a card lower than 27, that means it's at the bottom now, meaning it's going to get the relic, if there's one there, or it gets last pick anyway. So it does even out, but it can be, in your first couple of games, it might be very frustrating to be like, there's no way I could have prepared for that. Like, this is kind of one of those solo variants that you really, I don't know, you really strategize, like, and I mean, that sounds stupid, because it's like, well, yeah, it's a competitive game, shouldn't you strategize? But it's in a different way. Like, a lot of solo variants, I just kind of go with the flow of what they're doing. A lot of it is to mitigate the fact that you can clearly see what they're doing. You don't have to, get into the head of an opponent. But for a game that comes off as relatively light, there's a lot more strategy in the solo variant than I originally anticipated. Like, in looking at what loot tokens they have and seeing what's available, and then playing certain cards to go for a different strategy, that it's like I had one game where I was just going for actually sabers and hooks, because I had the Armorer, and he gives you coins each night for each saber and hook that you have. So I was actually going for those, and those abilities, by having sabers and hooks, lets me destroy cards in their ship, or or just get 4 coins at the end. So, and then I played a card that let me keep 1, so I kept the armor for the next round, so he stayed around longer. And then I was just kind of not trying to compete in terms of loot. And that's something that makes Libertalia great, is every single card has different abilities. And because there's 40 cards and you're only going to see 18 of them, because you go 3 voyages and you only draw 6, the way that those cards are coming out are going to be completely different in how you're going to play them. And the Automa does that exact same thing just by shuffling their deck. And it's like, I mean, they never did something that was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would they do that? Every time there was certain loot cards there, or the cards that they were playing, it all kind of worked out for them. And every game that I played against them, I won, but it was extremely close, like less than 10 points difference. Close. And, I mean, they have difficulty levels. Like, I was playing on Pirate, so normal, so my wealth and their wealth started out at 0. But if you're finding them difficult, you can go to Scallywag, which gives you basically a 10-point increase. You can do Landlubber, which is very easy, which is a 20-point increase. Or if you're winning all the time and you want a higher challenge, you just kind of, it's not the most intuitive or amazing difficulty scaling, but it is there. Like if it's like the last game I just played, I won by 7 points. If I was playing on Captain, I actually would have lost, because it would have started with 8. I would have lost by 1 point. So overall, and you can play these on the Stormy side as well, because this game has like the Sunny board, and you can flip it to the Stormy board for different effects of the loot tokens. And you might be wondering why the reputation track has all the colors out there. That's because to mitigate and actually have reputation still matter. My first time setting it up, I was like, wait, why are they there? It's because you still, when you gain or increase reputation, you still bump people back. You only ever compare yours and theirs whenever the same number gets played, but it's not just so you're swapping back and forth between the two people. I think it works extremely well. Like, because the Automa loses reputation, it gains reputation just like you do. And yeah, it fits and fills the role of another player extremely well. The Pilferer is just kind of, the Pilferer doesn't act as another player. It doesn't do abilities. It literally is just a number to potentially take away loot tokens. That's really it. So overall, I'm extremely impressed with the solo variant for Libertalia. Like, this is one, because it's so quick to just set up. What would be really cool, and I don't think there's a way to do it, but it'd be really cool if this also took the spot of another player in multiplayer games. That'd be really neat. Instead of it being like pure solo, if you have 2 people or 3 people and you want to play with 4, if you could take this deck and it would run as another player. It feels like it could, but just based off the way it prioritizes and decides which cards to play, I don't think it would work out, because the loot tokens are based off of, there are 3 loot tokens on the day spots, and in multiplayer games outside of 2, you put in a number of loot based off the number of players, so it just wouldn't work. I don't think it would work anyway. No, because of the Pilferer stuff. Yeah. So, not quite, but that would have been really neat if that was a thing where it's like, oh, we just take this deck and now it acts as our 4th player. Because some solo variants do that, or some bots do that, where it can be if you need another player. I think Root has that, and then it was one. Hegemony. Hegemony does that as well. But alas, it is not. However, if you were hesitant on this because you thought it needed multiple people, nope. And you're a solo gamer, highly recommend this one. And I know a lot of people were like kind of shitting on the art, but I've come around. I have honestly come around to it because I've been playing a lot of indie games that have this same kind of artwork. So I've come around to it. I enjoy it quite a bit. Anyway, if you want to know what I think about it for multiplayer, you can go check out my discussion for that, and then you can watch the run through if you want. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna give this a solid 8. I think it's really, really good. So that's my thoughts on the solar variant for Libertalia. Let me know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.